And I think if you just had that, you would understand, okay, the Google business profile, I need to invest some time into putting some pictures on there, optimizing it, getting the reviews that you just mentioned. And that would organically over time, it's free. It doesn't cost me anything. I'm going to repeat
Hmm.
that. It's free. It doesn't cost me anything to set up that Google business profile and get reviews going to it. That will generate business.
You're not just climbing trees, you're climbing destiny. Yeah.
What is going on? And welcome back to another episode of the Branching Out podcast. I'm your host, Justin Rademacher. And on this podcast, we talk about business growth tips for tree service businesses specifically, but a lot of what we cover will actually apply to most businesses or most service-based businesses. If your business needs leads, we're going to cover a lot of the things that will apply to you as well. So on this episode today, normally this podcast will have guests on, or it'll just be, we'll talk about a topic. I just did a how-to video last week on how to run your own Facebook organic posting utilizing ChatGPT. So we try to just provide a ton of value to the community. Today, I wanted to actually introduce somebody that is our internal team member. She works for Arborist Marketing Pros. Her name is Amma. She's our client success manager. Hi, Amma. Welcome to the
Hi.
podcast.
Hi, it's good to be here.
Let's talk about your background, because I know that you have been a CSM, a client success manager, in the past. Before you worked with us in marketing, what were your previous ventures?
So yeah, they were pretty much still in marketing, sort of, but on the client success side, I worked for a software as a service business. They had a tool to help business owners essentially get refunds from Amazon if Amazon was fulfilling orders for them. And my job was to essentially just maintain communication between us and them, get the documents needed to really fast track those refunds. And get any additional information to fast track those refunds. And then the system would do its thing. So that really put me in touch with how to communicate with people, what they need to hear, what we need to hear to make the service better for them. And also just helped me also expand within digital marketing, because I was also doing research for them. Yeah.
Yeah, so you weren't actually handling any of the returns or exchanges or anything like that, right?
No.
Okay.
I was passing it off.
Okay.
But there would be times I would have to sort of look into it a little bit further so that I can give an accurate report.
Gotcha. Well, the
Yeah.
reason I ask is I don't know if you've ever, but for me, I'll get things from Amazon, I'll order something from Amazon, and it'll be very obvious that it was returned by somebody else. Like if I order a motorcycle part, it'll be somebody's old, part
Yeah.
that they just put in the box.
No,
So I thought
I
that
wasn't in
was part of
charge
some
of those.
ring, some huge crime ring that's going on out there, the Amazon returns.
Maybe.
Cool. And you also, you said, I know that you worked, tell me about the casino thing. It was online casino. What
Yeah.
were you
So
doing there?
I was just keeping the VIPs happy and keeping them engaged with the casino side of things and getting them to enjoy the experience that we had to offer. So it was a lot of communication with them, setting them up, they like deals. And so to be finding the right deals for them, recognizing certain deals maybe at some points. Yeah, good relationship management was always on it.
So
Something that was important.
VIPs, just people that are gambling a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, gambling a lot. And had money. And had money to deposit in the thousands. So
Yeah.
they were very
That was
important.
one of my questions is what is what is that is there a dollar amount threshold that says if you gamble more than this amount, then you're a VIP? Is that kind of how it worked?
Yeah, it could work like that. So you could have a VIP that's $100 or euros at that time, a day, or someone who's just ready to drop 10,000 one go, then it's that's definitely a VIP. Let's keep
We need that.
good communication with him. Yeah.
Well, so VIP, that's a good segue to what you do today, because all of our clients at Arborist Marketing Pros are VIPs.
100%. Yes.
You're talking with clients every week. What are we're getting into the slower season.
Mhm.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you're hearing right now from the people that you're talking to?
So I think one of the biggest challenges is maybe leads not converting very well. Like, so maybe it'll be a thing of, oh, we called him back and he'd already called someone else. Or, and then on that end, it's just about answer rate and ensuring that you're getting back to these potential, clients in time. So what we would do on our end as like the growth partner that we are is that we would, ensure that there's instant lead alerts and messages going out to the business owners so that they're on top of it. And the leads that we're sending are getting through and leading to book jobs.
Right. Because it's, obviously when we get into the slowdown, we do see that the ad costs go up. And so oftentimes business owners are hyper focused on conversion, right? Where during the summer months, they're getting leads left and right. And it doesn't matter if they convert 25% of them, their ROAS, everything's still really good. They're still making a ton of money. But as we get into the slower season, it sounds like you're seeing that there are less leads. And now the conversations that we're having with the business owners and with the tree companies specifically are that they're hyper focused on conversion. Like, I'm getting a lot of these leads, or I'm not getting as many leads maybe, but it's just super painful right now that I'm not closing these jobs. And so I think that that's probably a good concept for us, is that when we get into the slowdown, we really have the opportunity to focus some of our time on how we can increase our salesmanship, and how we can improve our follow-up processes. And do you have any ideas on like how an average tree company could increase their speed to lead, how fast they could get a hold of customers?
I guess they could just ensure that they're calling them back within the first minute of getting the lead alert. If it's a missed call, try not to have those, especially if they're LSA leads. But if
why
you're
is
going
that
to
important? Why is the LSA answer rate, why is that so important?
Well, firstly, those are high intent leads. So those are people that are pretty much ready to book a job like today. And so if you're not answering the phone, they're going to the next one on the list, and then you've lost out. Then when you do call them back, you're going to get that we found someone. You're no longer needed. And then obviously for us, you picking up the phone on LSA and answering those messages helps our marketing efforts when it comes to LSA, because those campaigns will perform better because Google now trusts you. So they'll deliver you more leads. So that's
so
it's sort of like
twofold, right?
Yeah.
It's twofold, is that if I'm not answering the call, then there's the potential that they're going to call the next number on the list. So I lost out on the conversion side. But then also what I know we've talked about in the past is that if you don't answer the phone, Google's going to be less likely to send you the phone call next time that it comes in. And so you get less exposure in the auction. So answer rates, like you said, are huge.
Yeah,
and
short term and long term. Yeah.
Yeah. And those are conversations that you're having with clients, right? Like,
yeah, 100%. So if I'm noticing like, missed calls and non-answers, then that's something that I will nudge on and try and encourage for a better ethic around that.
Yeah, it was probably 6 months ago. I had a client that was struggling with the answer rate on LSA, and we did some, they basically hired somebody, basically an office staff person, that their whole job was just to answer the phone. Because as you can imagine, if you are a, single operator, or you're not really past the 500K annual threshold, hiring a bunch of people is not a task that we can take on very easily. But if you can find like entry level skill to just answer the phone and give them a script, that will pay dividends, because you'll get more leads coming in from Google. You'll miss less opportunities, which will improve your conversion rate, reducing your marketing expense, and you'll make more money, right? And so it's definitely a long play. What do you think have you picked up on any habits or some traits or even tactics that you've noticed that separate our like most successful clients from the ones that struggle to get traction?
I think it's maybe the clients that are willing to be a bit more collaborative with us, because, if we're getting the photos, we're keeping everything fresh on the ad side and the website side. If they're able to get those reviews, then on our side, we can respond to them. But not only that, it helps our ad efforts, like marketing side of things. We can actually make sure that you would get better leads because you are seeming more trustworthy to Google.
Yeah. And a lot of them are probably looking for, or are used to working with lead providers and not an actual marketing agency that's an extension of their business, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so it ties in. I think what you're saying too is like if there is an issue with the lead, or if we don't have a good understanding of their business model, the areas that they
Hmm.
target, the jobs that they do, the fluidity of, we just bought a grapple saw, and so now we want
Yeah.
to target land clearing jobs. Like those are things that we need to know
To
to be able to
know.
market their business. Yeah.
Yeah, so that feedback loop is so important to the guys that are doing better, because we're not only optimizing just in general as a marketing agency, but we're optimizing precisely to what they need or what they're struggling with. And so they're going to do better because we're nipping things in the bud that only they're experiencing. So yeah, I think that's what makes or separates the winners from the more struggling companies, is being able to speak to us, have us fix things, be collaborative in helping the marketing efforts through your own actions, answering the phones. Yeah.
Yeah. Because marketing is not a silver bullet, right? It's like this is
Hmm.
something that's going to grow and change. The landscape's constantly evolving with AI search and all the things that are changing in the digital marketing landscape. And so it truly is this partnership that we have to be able to communicate and collaborate to make sure that we're driving business growth and that we're aligned with the client to make sure that we're driving in the right direction.
That
What's
actually
the,
makes me
go ahead.
want to ask you a question.
No, please.
So can you like expand a little bit on why you went specifically into as a tree
Mm.
company, as a marketing agency for a tree company?
Yeah. So obviously living in Daytona Beach, we get a lot of storms that come through here, hurricanes, and it seems like every hurricane season that comes through, there's at least 6 or 7 new tree companies that get spun up. And so because I'm sort of involved in the community, I have a lot of friends that own tree companies. And
Mm-hmm.
when we started our agency a couple of years ago, I guess it was about 3 years ago now, we were a generalist agency. We would, if you had a credit card and a pulse, we would we would represent you online. And what ended up happening is we figured out that home services are the area where we can provide the most value. Now, my business partner Phil and I, our background is in automotive, SaaS as well, software as a service. And so that's where we sort of got our marketing chops and started to understand like CPC and click-through rates and all those things. And the automotive industry is super dialed in with their tracking, with where the leads are coming from, and most of the home service industries are not. It's very much business owners sort of trying to do their own marketing and don't really understand acquisition or customer acquisition, or more specifically attribution, like where did the lead come from?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a huge opportunity for us to provide value. And a few of my friends wanted us to run their campaigns, and we started to figure out, on the tree side, there's we can provide a ton of value. We can add, and the campaigns are, once you sort of have the lay of the land of how to set up the campaign, it's wash, rinse, and repeat, and we can get really, really good and solve specific problems that this industry has that maybe some other home service industry doesn't have. So
Mm.
finding the niche was one of the biggest opportunities for us that pivoted our ability to deliver for clients, because a generalist marketing agency, speaking from experience, I'm not going to know what a Centobogan is, but because
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the industry, I know what a grapple saw is. I know what saws these guys are running. And so A, I get to speak your language, but B, when you are coming across challenges in your business, I've probably already worked with a business that has gone through that challenge and I might have the answer, right?
Right.
So that's sort of how we ended up in trees. And, since then we got involved at the ISA. We're going to the TCIA Expo next month in St. Louis.
Awesome.
So you'll see it. Yeah. If you're listening to this, you'll see us walking the halls.
Okay, cool. And what did you think like is the hardest part, I suppose, of working with tree guys and trying to help them understand the marketing side of things? Or what are the biggest misconceptions they have about marketing?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think that in our industry specifically, people are used to purchasing leads, right? They're used to buying a lead provider, whether it's a Angie's, Home Advisor, Thumbtack. There's other ones that are decent. Not all of them are bad. Don't get me wrong, but they're not used to marketing their own business. And I think that that's one of the things that does separate the larger organizations from the small tree companies that will forever stay small, is that unless you start branding yourself and marketing yourself and start to understand some of these concepts, you're not going to get past the, call it $2 million a year revenue mark. You can hustle and grind your way to $2 million. And you have a good storm that comes through. You do door knocking. You spend a ton of money on mailers. You can get to $1.5, $2 million. But to get past that, you really have to have a brand. And I think that's probably the biggest misconception. The challenge is internally, and you'll know this and appreciate this too, right? In your role, is that we have our internal jargon, like we're talking about CPC and CTRs and ROAS and things that a business owner, a tree service business owner, doesn't need to understand, or more specifically, it's our job to translate that to them. So when we say what the ROAS is, what the ROAS is, we need to explain to them, hey, you spent X on ads, you made Y on ads, and that's how much you made, that's your return on your advertising spend. So I think that being almost bilingual of like, you know, we have to understand the marketing jargon, but then also be able to translate it to the client is one of the biggest opportunities here.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's something that I try to do in the reports that I send over to clients is ensure that everything is broken down in a way that is snapshot, easy to understand, and clear on why it's important to do certain things. Like, why is it important for LSA to be picked up early, especially if they're getting high leads from them?
Yeah, because I think a lot of them have been burned in the past by marketing agencies. And because it's really easy for us in our industry to hide behind vanity, we call them vanity metrics of like click-through rates and all these things that, yes, they're good signals to be paying attention to. But at the end of the day, it's dollars in versus dollars out. Like, how much money are we making from our marketing efforts? Is it paying for itself? And am I seeing an ROI?
Right. So then in that case, what advice would you give, you know, one of these guys who might have been burned before, who's afraid to like get into a new company and invest in marketing? What is advice you would give them?
Yeah, I think you have to know enough to be dangerous. So before you jump into, we'll call it jump into bed with another marketing agency, know what questions to ask and know what to look out for. And I'll just give you some of them right now, is that I would be cautious of jumping into a long-term contract with an agency. If they say something like it's going to be 12 months, 12-month commitment, I would be cautious of that. I would also be cautious of, you know, who's going to own the ad account? Like, who's going to own the assets that the agency is creating? For us, everything we do is above board. We build the website, we host it on our servers, we build the ad account, but it's all built in the client's name, right? And so if they tell us to pound sand, as I like to say, right? Like if they tell us to kick rocks, they have all those assets, right? And that's, in my mind, how the relationship should work. There's absolutely going to be like some, you know, intellectual property, some IP that maybe the agency has that won't go back to the client. But for the most part, like if we're running ads, then there's data that's going to be in the ad account that should belong to the client. The website, even though we built the website, we're going to give them a WordPress file and they can go to whatever host that they want to and they can spin up the website. They have paid for it. And so I see a lot of that in the industry where agencies will try to hold on to clients by holding their website hostage or holding their Facebook page hostage. And a lot of times, you know this, we've worked with people that have come to us that don't have a website because their last agency bogarted it and didn't release it, right? And so those are the things that I think that you need to know as a business owner if you are shopping for a marketing agency, is like, what are the red flags to look out for? And if you can go into the call with those questions loaded, I think that you'll make a pretty decent decision. Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
So a lot of owners get nervous when the phone starts to slow down, right? Like, how do you help them stay focused and patient while still making data-driven optimizations?
Okay. Firstly, I like to be a bit empathetic to this because it's naturally going to be a very frustrating time, specifically when, you know, things start to slow down because things have been going so well. You're almost like planning ahead and then there's a abrupt stop. There is a bit of panic that's going to naturally happen for a business owner. So it's about me just reaffirming that slow seasons do happen. We understand that it's very important for leads to stay coming in and stay consistent. Even if we are going to take a hit, here's what we're going to do. And present after that is presenting a strong next steps or action plan with them. But I will say that, I think we touched a little bit on it earlier. There is opportunity during the slow season to strengthen various aspects of both our marketing efforts and the digital presence for the business. So like getting those photos in with this extra spare time, doubling back to some past clients and trying to get reviews maybe would be really helpful in this moment to strengthen up, as we said, the trustability of the business. And then just tightening up the funnel. So ensuring that whatever does come through is being acted on immediately so that we're not having conversations of closing rates being low, but or we're having conversation of small leads, but almost everything is getting closed and getting booked and leading and helping the funnel for like when things start to pick up again. So I think that is like very simply my approach to that.
If you had to pick, I'm going to throw a curveball at you. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
If you had to pick, okay, let's pretend that there is a tree client or a tree business owner that is listening to this podcast that is not one of our clients, and they're not ready to hire a marketing agency. They are, call it sub 500K annual, and they're trying to really start to get their feet wet in marketing. If you had to give them one task that would make an impact in their business. And this could be something that would even take them some time to learn, right? Because presumably like anything that we do the first time, we're going to be terrible at. We have to like practice it and get better at it. But if you could give them one area to focus, because there's so much out there. There's SEO, there's website, there's PPC, there's LSA, there's Facebook organic, Facebook paid, there's Nextdoor, there's direct mail, there's all these different ways that business owners can really get their name out there. But if you had to pick one, what would it be?
For them to get their name out, it would be Google, because I think it's everyone is trying to get on there because everyone is searching on there. So I think it would be just understanding how Google works, and then this obviously touches a little bit on getting those reviews if they do get the jobs, because that is it's a cyclical thing that can help a lot in a lot of spaces. Yeah, I think Google.
Yeah, I second that. I think that as a business owner, it doesn't matter what business you own, I think that you should understand how Google search works. I'm not saying that you should necessarily be able to set up a Google pay-per-click campaign with conversion actions that fire back webhooks. I'm not saying that you should get that in depth with it, but I think that you need to understand when we're talking about CPC, paid search versus local service ads, Google verified, and organic SEO, I think that you need to be able to have a visual in your brain of what all these different placements mean. And I think if you just had that, you would understand, okay, the Google business profile, I need to invest some time into putting some pictures on there, optimizing it, getting the reviews that you just mentioned. And that would organically over time, it's free. It doesn't cost me anything. I'm going to repeat that. It's free. It doesn't cost me anything to set up that Google business profile and get reviews going to it. That will generate business. And the other thing that if I had to throw in, I didn't give you this opportunity, but I will. But if I had to throw in a close second, it's going to be organic social media. And when I say that, people like Gary Vaynerchuk come to mind, and they're going to say, post 1 million times per day on all 7 of the platforms. But I think that if we just understood who our primary customer is, right? And for most of our clients, I would imagine our primary customer are going to be people that have some disposable income, that probably own their home, right? And I can get a picture of what my ideal client looks like. And from there, I can kind of make some judgment calls as to what platforms they're going to be using. Our agency has decided that Facebook is probably the place that we want to be. And if we went 100% in on Facebook, we would capture enough attention to keep our clients satisfied. But don't make the mistake of going to going to TikTok because you like TikTok, unless you're just going to go all in on TikTok, right? I would much rather you give 100% effort into one of the platforms than 10% effort into 10 of them, right? And so both of those things are free. Right. I think that's where a lot of people get hung up is like, well, I don't have money to invest in marketing. Well, if you don't have money, you have time,
Yeah.
like, so. Let's see what else we got here. So you are currently handling a lot of different relationships and you're doing a phenomenal job with it. I'm wondering though, what is your superpower? Like, what's your approach to keeping customers happy long term?
Maintaining a good relationship and maintaining trust in what they say to me will get addressed, even if it's not in that moment, that I do get back to them with clear, definitive answer as well as action plan. That helps keep the relationship good.
Yeah, I think that's important because like if something's broken, we're all human and we realize that not everything's going to be perfect, but it's about speed of being able to resolve an issue.
Yeah.
Just like,
They
stuff happens in the field for these guys, they break fences, they, drop trees on houses, but like how fast and how good are you at turning that around and
right.
proving to the customer that like we're going to do what we say we're going to do and take care of it.
Right. And just having that easy line of communication is also very important. They shouldn't be walking 10,000 miles just to tell me that someone from the wrong state is asking for a job. It should be a very quick thing that I can be like, okay, yeah, we'll exclude that in the next 10 minutes. And then
Yeah. And that's it. Cause like I hate, like we obviously have to deal with like Google and Meta, and I hope they're not listening to this podcast. I'd be honored if they were. But I hate having to work with them if there's a bug or a glitch because it's just so painful to A, get a hold of somebody, and then B, like I feel like it'd be easier to get a hold of the president of the United States than it is to get a support person at Meta. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy when they hire us, or when they're working with you specifically, they have that opportunity to just pick up the phone and call and know that their problem is going to get resolved.
How do you balance scaling the agency with maintaining quality and relationships?
By not sleeping. True. I think that is really like one of the biggest challenges is making sure that, as a business owner, our job is to grow the business. But the only way that we grow the business is by keeping good people like yourself in play that can handle the relationship and that I feel that I can trust to have these conversations with the clients, right? And so the balance really, obviously it comes down to like a math problem is that we look at what we want our profit margins to be. We look at when it's appropriate for us to make another hire, and then we keep tabs on what everybody's capacity is. And you'll know this because you and I have had conversations about how many clients you can handle and what your day-to-day would have to look like to actually hit those targets. And so as soon as we scale past the point of, breaking that where we're now past your capacity, we have to hire another CSM that will hopefully be at least half as good as Amma and will be a set. But that's basically how we would manage that, right? And same as on all the other departments that we have, because if you're listening to this and you don't know how a digital marketing agency is structured, we have SEO team, we have a paid ads team, we've got sales, we've got internal marketing, we've got website design and development. And so all these teams have their own capacities that they can handle. And so making sure that we're putting the right people into the right places at the right times is how we can scale the agency. Otherwise, we'll just be constantly in a state of chasing our tail and we won't be able to deliver that client relationship that you were talking about because it is time consuming, right? Like, from the client's perspective, it might seem like, well, I only get a call every other week or once a month, but how many times did we have to call you before we actually got you on the phone? How many emails did we have to send and text messages? And how many times did we look at your ad account, audit your website? How much time have we spent managing the campaigns on the back end, wondering what's up with this keyword and why we're not ranking for it, making changes to the website? There's a lot that happens on the back end that oftentimes doesn't even really get surfaced to the client. And so So that's kind of how I personally think about it, is making sure that we're plugging in the right person at the right time when it makes sense. And I think that same exact mindset applies to every single business that's out there. And we've obviously this episode has gone on a little bit longer than most of our episodes go, but we talked about a lot of good things. And I think that the last piece that we talked about is important for anybody that's listening to this podcast to really pay attention to, is that as you're growing your business and scaling your business, there are going to be points in time where if I was the only person that talked to our clients because I didn't want to hire somebody to do that because A, they couldn't do it as good as me, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
B, I didn't want to spend the money to do that. That just means that the clients, the jobs that I am working on, that I'm actually the one that's doing the work, are not getting done as quickly or as good as I could have somebody else doing them. And so I'm holding
Mm-hmm.
myself back. And that's one of the most common things I see.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Amma, thank you so much. I know that, I pulled you away from your day to day for the better part of an hour. So I appreciate you jumping on today's episode.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you are listening to this and you're a tree service company, I'll do a shameless plug. If you want us to take a look at your business and see how we might be able to help, what our recommendations would be, you can go to arboristmarketingpros.com/schedule and book a call right on my calendar. We'll take 30 minutes and give you our recommendations. And if it makes sense for us to work together, cool. If not, no harm, no foul. I want you to leave that call with some value. So we'll catch you guys on the next episode of the Branching Out podcast. Till next time.